Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Calvin Anderson, for the Checking With podcast, season 3. And we have an amazing guest. We've actually been trying to get this podcast in for so long, but finally we solidified a date. My guest is a trainee counsellor and the founder of Soother, which is an amazing company, a new workplace mental well-being company that takes a slightly different approach to employee mental health support and hopes to improve on what's currently available, which when the launch and everything is fully established and, you see Soother all around the place, just know that I sent you there first. So ladies and gentlemen, give an incredible warm welcome to George Stevens. George, how are you?
Calvin, very good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on and for that lovely intro. Very good.
No, pleasure, man. Pleasure. Thank you so much for, again, like we finally got it in. We've been
Got
saying,
there in the end.
we've been going back and forth with dates, but no, George, it's an honor to have you. For the listeners, George, I want to get into your personal journey and your values. What drew you personally to therapy and mental health work?
Yes, it's a bit of a cliche. I just love people and I kind of always have loved people. And I went off to uni at 19 to study psychology, kind of with the view of just, get my studies done, move into this line of work kind of straight away in whichever form that might be. Fell into a completely different career, kind of first week of uni, started some completely different work, finished my degree, and then just stuck with that line of work that was completely separate to the therapy for the last 14, 15 years. It then got to the point that I could figure out actually what I want from my life and what I'm actually passionate about. And it kind of just came back to this thing of people and talking to people, trying to help people if I can. That led me to start my counselling training maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago now. And here we are doing all sorts of stuff.
Here we are doing all sorts of stuff. How are you finding the training?
Loving it and finding it slightly daunting in kind of equal measure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty surprised at kind of how different it is to maybe what I expected. Before I started, obviously I had a degree in psychology. I wasn't kind of brand new to the world, but my understanding of what therapy is and looks and sounds like was miles away from kind of how I feel now, 18 months into my training. Really enjoying it. Very eye-opening, completely different to what I expected. But love it. And very much feel like I'm kind of where I'm supposed to be, which is a nice feeling, because maybe a feeling I've not always had in my life.
Was anything surprised you during the training?
Yeah, I think I wasn't expecting to kind of do as much or for there to be as much self-discovery, I think. Obviously, it's kind of a key part in therapy in general for clients and obviously therapists in the training to figure out our own stuff or work towards figuring our own stuff out, at least so we can know which is which sort of thing. I don't think I was expecting as much of that to happen. And I don't think I was expecting to discover some of the things I've discovered about myself. And maybe I wasn't expecting it to be as bumpy a ride, potentially, properly looking at yourself and figuring some stuff out and maybe where those things come from. And sometimes those things come from places you didn't realize and people you didn't realize and all that sort of stuff. So the self-discovery bit, I'd say, surprised me. And also, I guess I'm kind of, if I think back to what I thought therapy was or my opinions on it before I started, I'm a little kind of haunted that I definitely thought that before my training, I thought, I think I'd be a good counsellor. People say I'm good at listening. I think I could do this. I'll get the training because that's what you're supposed to do, but I could probably be a counsellor now. And then there's just multiple moments in my training where I realised that was a pretty dangerous view. And actually there's a lot of learning and a lot of surprises along the way. And it's just a really, really vital process of getting the training properly somewhere good with good people. And we can move towards working safely and ethically with people in a way that will hopefully help them.
I love that, George. I even love how you spoke about being surprised about your own self-discovery and self-awareness, which, if you can unpack that for me, not in depth, but more so, did you get, because like you said, you had a specific way or a thought process of what therapy was beforehand. Now you're involved, you're getting the training, and it's, I guess, completely different to that first thought. When did you begin to I guess, notice that your self-awareness was building and you were starting to see yourself?
Yeah, I think I was probably on the way there before the course, just from kind of life stage. So I was maybe early 30s. Couple of things had just been happening in my life, and so I think I was kind of en route there
Yeah.
anyway, hopefully. But then the course just kind of accelerates, doesn't it? Because you start to learn about people in general, effective ways of being with other people, and the kind of state required to be with other people in that way.
Yeah.
Um, and I think a really key part of that is kind of figuring out yourself and your stuff to get to that state where you can be with someone else, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I kind of noticed that happening mostly actually in the period at the start where I realized, okay, therapy isn't what I thought. There's a lot to kind of do here and a lot of mastery and skill involved that I kind of probably didn't give credit before I started training. And you go through that spell of thinking, oh, okay, maybe what is it? The conscious incompetence bit, I was really aware of how far away I was.
Mm.
And then I've gradually moved towards that bit more of conscious competence was like, okay, I can do this. I know what it requires and I'm kind of moving towards it. And yeah, I had a big spell where I thought, oof, this is a bigger thing than I thought it was taking it on, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
yeah, kind of moved through that and feel great about it. What about you? Recognize any of this from your training or is there
Definitely.
surprises?
No, definitely, noticing what my triggers were, noticing, things I didn't know about myself, things I did know about myself, and all of these things coming into one melting pot during either like lectures or triads or even doing assignments, certain things coming up for me. So I definitely agree with you just in terms of it began as soon as the course started.
Yeah,
Not to say I didn't have self-awareness beforehand, but it was very limited.
yeah,
And then
totally
what?
agree.
And then when starting the course like you, it's like it just starts to open you up in so many ways, um, in safe ways, because we can even talk about that. Some places, individuals aren't safe to do that, but luckily, and I thank God that I had people around me who I actually felt safe to be able to say how I felt or allow myself to go to like the next level. So I agree with you 100% on what you
Yeah,
said.
and I agree with that as well because I also think that environment that you train in
Mm.
really helps you to recognize what it means for someone to be safe for you to talk to. And that helps inform you
Yeah.
in your own work as well, even though it's coming from a situation where you're maybe client side or you're thinking about your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree.
I love that, George. Yeah. We can definitely unpack that even further. But tell me about Soother. Soother is your baby, your company, your
Yeah.
organization. I guess tell me the idea behind it. Like, how did the idea come about?
Yeah. So, I mean, firstly, there's the thing to clarify because I feel slightly uncomfortable that I'm a trainee counsellor. I'm not even a qualified counsellor yet. And
Mm.
yet I'm trying to kind of do this big thing and start a company when I'm not even qualified yet. So, but hopefully we'll be able to talk through that enough that it makes sense. And just for the listeners, I'm sure there's lots of very experienced counsellors. I am aware of that, and I know it's a bit ridiculous, but we're just trying to do something. So, and hopefully it works out. So it came about because, like I said, during my training, you kind of look into career prospects, earning potential, the kind of landscape of the world that you're going into. And to be honest, there were just a few areas that I just think could be done differently. And like I say, I'm trying to balance the thing of new eyes and kind of fresh ideas and enthusiasm, which I think is great.
Mm.
Trying to balance that with definitely not trying to come across as some savior, like, oh look, I've just arrived, but like I'm here to save you all. Like I know the answers. I'm trying to balance the two because I definitely don't feel like I'm some savior. I just think that some things could be done slightly differently. And I think clients would benefit from some things changing up a little bit. And I think I've had some experience in the different work that I've done that kind of informs that a little bit. Yeah, just trying to improve things if we can.
Mm. And even take me a step further, George, in terms of what gap in the therapy or mental health space did you notice Sue was trying to fill?
Yeah, I kind of frame it in my mind as like less a gap in the market, because that's usually the phrase that's kind of talked about maybe new business ventures, or what's the gap in the market that you fill in.
Yeah.
More like gap in the offering, or gap in like what's available to people,
Yeah.
because that's the thing I'm trying to fill, rather, and maybe I'm just framing it myself so I can kind of justify what I'm doing, but rather than some gap in the market, it's like, oh, okay, it's a quick buck, we can make money, because that just isn't the drive behind it.
Yeah.
I just feel like, yeah, like I said, there are areas that I think could improve. So it kind of all boils down to two main bits, really. The first one is access to mental health support. I don't think, I'd be surprised if anyone listening feels like access is where it could be or is kind of optimal. And it comes down to a few different things. I think firstly, publicly available services. Access is struggling. Like there's nearly 2 million people on waiting lists, and there's a study that kind of surveyed a small number of them, but surveyed them that 80% of people get worse while they wait, which obviously makes sense. That kind of adds up. And when that's human beings and their mental health, that's a pretty difficult thing to swallow, really. So, but there are lots of reasons for that. There's also, so that's the kind of publicly available stuff. There's also within the workplace mental health options, there's clearly just also some access issues there. So the stats on people accessing therapy through EAPs, so employee assistance programs, is between 3 and 5%, which just feels very low.
Very low. Yeah.
When the kind of generally agreed percentage of people that could maybe do with support or struggling with the mental health is around 25%,
Wow.
maybe more, but around that. So then it feels like there's something off if then these services that are free to access, only kind of 1 in 20 people are accessing them that they could be. And that kind of comes down to a few different things, like the way these businesses are structured. I could talk about that for a long time, Calvin. Maybe I'll skip over that bit, but we can talk about that another time if you want.
For sure.
That's a bit rabbit. I also don't want this to be some hit piece on everyone else's work, because it's not. Like, if fundamentally, if people are doing work to help people, I'm in support of it.
Definitely.
But the access thing, I think we can just free up the access a little bit. So there's lots of the routes to actually get the therapy are quite difficult through a workplace at the moment, through some EAPs. You might not be aware of what you actually get access to. So then to access it, you might have to speak to HR or a boss, something you might not want to do. If it's your first time engaging with therapy, you don't really want to ask what feels like a colleague for help. So that's a bit of a barrier.
Yeah.
There's also an assessment process often that the EAPs kind of need to protect how many sessions happen, because their model kind of depends on that. And so there has to be some kind of assessment process for them in the middle, so they can have some control over how many sessions happen. If every single person access the sessions that they have access to, the whole thing collapses, right? Because it can't be propped up financially. And an assessment stage is really important. But also, I think if we can get rid of the assessment stage and just have really skilled counsellors kind of ready for the service, it makes the whole process of accessing the therapy sessions much easier. And that's the kind of goal. Sorry if that's kind of boring detail in the middle. There's a lot more, but I don't want to be.
No, not boring at all, George. Again, you're giving us the stats, you're giving us the statistics and the truth about what's happening, and I can hear from just you and what your company is doing to create a path or avenue where therapy can be even more accessible than it was before.
Yeah, exactly. And the main kind of sentence that sticks with me is that a lot of the options at the moment, and again, I want to stress, if people are opening access to therapy in any way, I think that's great. But a lot of the structures are kind of more like insurance policies. So if something goes wrong, we're here to support you. But if the thing goes wrong, you need to do this, 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 and then we'll be able to support you. Some people don't meet the threshold always to access the therapy, which I think is a problem personally.
Yeah.
Because I like to view therapy. I hope that if people want therapy, they can get it. I don't want it to be if people need therapy, you can have it type session.
Yeah.
And just my belief around it in general is that I don't think mental health is something to be insured against. I think it's something to invest in. And that kind of shift is a bit of that proactive support. If you can help someone before they're in a crisis, they might not reach crisis point. And I just think opening up access can help with that, and kind of, people can access therapy with great therapists before they really feel like they need to, and in a way that's easier than maybe it has been previously. So there's that bit, there's the access bit.
Mm.
And then that's only half the answer, Calvin. You got how much time you got?
Go for it.
And then I think there's also a quality thing going on,
Mm.
which sounds quite blunt, but there's kind of thoughts to it. So like I say, I want to open up access to therapy, and I think that's great. But then sometimes if you open up the access, then who's kind of carrying the burden of that access?
Mm.
That's a really delicate thing to manage. So if we're kind of saying that opening up access by like really kind of affordable options, I think that's great.
Mm.
If that's to the detriment of therapists and to of impacting their pay heavily, and they're getting paid poorly, which I see kind of an alarming amount of times on job adverts and stuff.
Yeah.
I really worry about the impact on therapy. I worry about the impact on the therapists and the therapy itself, because you and I know, and I'm kind of in the middle of it now. By the time you've trained and got your own therapy, you're paying for your supervision, you're paying for your courses, etc., etc. You're already thousands behind.
Mm.
To then go into the work and be paid an amount that you find difficult for your work, I think is never going to help the quality of the therapy. There'll be definitely some therapists out there that are rock solid and it doesn't impact their work, and I think that's incredible. And I would love to think that would be me too.
Yeah.
But I don't think therapists deserve or should kind of carry that burden so much so that they potentially could resent their work because they're being paid poorly. Does that make sense? We just want to pay therapists well, have our little spot in the ecosystem that works. So there's kind of the publicly available services. There's the sort of community CIC charity area. There's like kind of really affordable services. Then there's therapy that's paid for, maybe by workplaces, or just free to access for people, but it is paid for.
Yeah.
And then there's the private, just straightforward, clients pay for their own therapy and they get it. That's kind of how I see this ecosystem. And I really think if each of those plays its role kind of effectively, the whole thing improves dramatically. I think if you can properly get employees into therapy and getting proper support through their employers, then they might be coming off the waiting list on a kind of broad scale, not just us, but if you can then take them off the NHS waiting lists, that frees up some services for the people that maybe don't have access to an employer or don't work for a company that offers therapy. And I just think all of those have a knock-on effect on each other. And I think that's a really great system there that kind of doesn't leave many people behind.
Yeah.
But each area, if they pull the weight kind of successfully, each other bit will benefit. I hope that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense, John.
Hello, everyone. Sorry to interrupt. Firstly, thank you very much for listening. Secondly, Calvin and I realised that I didn't actually answer the question what Soother is. So I'm going to do that quickly now, and then we'll get back to the podcast. Soother is a new partner for workplaces to support the mental wellbeing of their staff. It's really straightforward. We've got a network of brilliant therapists with all different specialities and different approaches. And we partner with organisations and just make it really easy for their employees to seek therapy through us with a really straightforward booking system and just simplify the whole thing. So yeah, Soother is a new kind of upgrade to workplace mental wellbeing. That's it. So back to the podcast. Sorry, I talked a lot there.
No, it's important and valuable information. So thank you. And that brings me into, how has starting and running Soother shaped your own perspective on well-being?
It's kind of reinforced how important I think it is. Obviously, I thought it was really important because I'm kind of gone down this line of work and taken the steps to train myself, etc. But it's really important work. And the more conversations I have, I'm sure you had it kind of when people in your life learned that you were doing your training and taking interest in this kind of work.
Yeah.
There's then this sometimes a bit of an automatic freeing up of talking about how they feel about this stuff, not necessarily their own kind of things, but about mental health in general and their opinions of therapy. And maybe people are just in it to humour me, to talk to, because I know I'm interested in it, but I have very few conversations with people ever that kind of don't feel strongly that mental health support is really important, and that kind of a lot of us have our own run-ins in many different ways with mental health, and that easy access to support is kind of really important. So there's that part of it. It's even more important than maybe I've realised before.
Mm.
And then, so remind me of the question.
Just how running your company
Yeah.
has shaped your own perspective on well-being. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. And it also it's also reinforced the thing of everyone has their own relationship with mental health and what support looks like to them.
Yeah.
And what I really love about this kind of space is that, like, the thing of therapy understands that and leaves room for people to have their own version of what they are looking for and what helps them. And you get to decide, which I love, because quite often we're kind of told how we should feel or what we should do and should this, should that.
Mm.
Whereas actually in the therapy room and in the kind of like general world,
Yeah.
it's up to you guys, and it's what clients want. And there's an acceptance that this way of working helps for some people and different ways of working suit other people more. And I just love that people have the room to kind of decide for themselves and they get to choose. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense, George. The key thing you said in there is that they get to choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I really like that you highlighted that, because, you know, people may think, who have never done therapy, think that we direct everything and we're like, yeah, it goes like this, or the session's going to go like this. And we, there's some kind of script involved. Now, in terms of scripts, it's not a script whereby, we're reading off things, but in terms of the technical aspect or the therapy aspect, there might be a script where it comes to finding out how, there's different, what can I say, different templates where scripts are used to find out how you're doing before the session begins, or to get valuable information for the therapist or whoever you're dealing with. So there are scripts involved in therapy,
Mm-hmm.
but not the script whereby we're trying to direct how you should talk or what you should say. That's not how it works. But no, thank you for sharing that. And that felt, even as you said it, I could feel the importance in that when you said about, they get to choose.
Yeah.
They get to choose.
It's kind of freeing, right? I think that is, I think a key part for all of us is to keep helping more and more people understand what therapy is and what it does look and sound like, and how it might look and sounds, and that people understand that it is whatever kind of they want it to be, it within, do you know what I mean? Like yeah, it's however they want it to go, really. Like, there's obviously limits to that, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like, there aren't many areas of life where you get to say, actually, I would like it to be done this way, and for someone to listen and say, okay, yeah, fine, that's how I do it then. And even giving someone that permission to decide for themselves in itself,
Yeah.
I think is sometimes a really powerful thing just on its own, let alone then actually going through the therapy in a way that they think is beneficial for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that freedom and that kind of permission to decide something, and even on its own, I think that's a really big thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Definitely is a big thing. And in certain modalities, there are certain phrases or things that are said to further what a client says or may mention in sessions. So it just depends on what you work with and how they choose to work in therapy as well.
Exactly, and I think there being a variety of approaches is great, because, for example, with Soother, we've got a team of great therapists. They don't all work in the same way at all. They've all got their different approaches and their different specialities, and I think that's great. I think that enriches the whole thing, because then, like, I think the overall point I'm trying to make is that therapy is this thing that means something different potentially to every person, or maybe 100 people might have 50 different versions of what therapy is or looks like or sounds like, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
And so the fact that people can get the sorts of support that works for them, whether it's a CBT thing and there is a bit more of a directive, challenging kind of thing, or whether, I know from my experience in therapy, the person-centered thing for me initially is great. I'd just like to be listened to and everything's kind of all right, and that really helps me lay things out and discuss it.
Yeah.
And for other people, like, that wouldn't be great for them and they would prefer something else. And I think that's great. There are the options, you get to decide.
Yeah.
Making the same point over and over again, but I just do like that.
Yeah. I want to go on to facilitating sessions, George, if that's okay. What's been the feedback so far from clients or participants, if you want to share that? Obviously nothing direct, but yeah, what's the feedback been since you began your company and had sessions?
Yeah, so I think this is a really key part of the workplace thing. And I'm going to kind of swerve the actual question, but answer it in a way that we'll discuss, because I think often when people are accessing stuff through the work, there's maybe a fear that, well, work are going to know what we're talking about, or work are going to start accessing sessions, or etc. And the kind of reassurance I want to give people, or just in general, is that what actually happens within those sessions is nothing to do with me and nothing to do with Soother. It's entirely the relationship with the employee or client and the therapist. So the feedback we've been getting is much more kind of around the functionality, what's working with the booking system, do you like it, what could be better, etc. And we've had great feedback in the sense that for the most part everything's working as it should be, which is great. But also feedback on what could be done better, and then that's great, because while we're in this trial period kind of at the start, before I'm not sure when this will come out, but we may well be launched by the time it comes out, but we're just in a trial phase at the moment. So we're just tweaking everything up and running through things as they will in practice, and just making some adjustments based on the feedback. But yeah, so far so good. We're just trying to make it as simple as possible. The kind of key with the booking thing for us is that I don't think it should be more difficult to book a therapy session than it is to book a haircut. Right? Like, we've got the technology.
Yeah.
The thing with the access earlier on is that there are lots of people hoping to access and wanting and waiting to access mental health support at the moment. We know that. There are also lots of great therapists that don't have full diaries. And so therefore we must be getting something wrong in the middle, because there are great people waiting to help and there are people seeking help. And so let's just get the bit in the middle right, and then we can kind of hopefully kick on from there, and then have a wider impact than maybe just the workplace. But so that was a very long-winded answer to
No,
it's working, which is great.
It's working, and that's what we love to hear, George, and thank you for that. I'm glad. And to be honest, that's the feedback that I was asking about, because like you said, if it's session related, that's only between the client and the therapist. And there are places or testimonials where clients can give feedback and say, hey, this therapist really helped me, and all those things. So I love that, the process is going, and you guys are having a great start, and may it continue. Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, because that's just a key bit that of course clients have given the odd bit that our therapist is great, etc., but we're just kind of not really prying. But if they offer that up, then that's fine. But what was I going to say there? Something around, I can't remember, something around the workplace not actually knowing what's said in the sessions. Oh yeah, because the workplace are paying for the therapy. It's almost like I'd forgive someone for thinking, well, if they're paying, they kind of own something here, because it's their thing that they're paying for. But that just absolutely isn't how we operate whatsoever. As soon as it's great when companies sign up, and we're working with a couple of founders now. It's brilliant. I love when people really want to care for their people, and so much so that they invest in their mental health. I love that. But once that kick-off invoice is paid and the relationship has started with the company, the therapy itself is nothing to do with the workplace. It's nothing to do with us. It's just great therapy with great therapists, between client and therapist, and that's it. Yeah, like I mentioned before, I just think sometimes if it's being paid for you by someone else, there's this innate feeling that, oh well, they must own some of it because they're paying for it for me. But yeah, no, just it's no one else's business what happens in your therapy session. Like,
Yeah.
it's simple as that. And that's the beauty of it.
Love that. Confidentiality. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the key things in our field. So I love that, George. I wanted to talk to you now on the wider mental health landscape.
Mhm.
How do you think therapy and mental health support will evolve in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I'm really optimistic, to be honest. There's some areas of serious concern still that I think we'll talk about. But I am really optimistic. I think that we've got a lot of the tools that we need, and we've got the people that we need. It's just a case of maybe organising things in a way that functions a little bit better in some areas.
Mm.
And I think as the conversation continues to kind of become more normal in a way, a lot more people talk about things. It becomes a lot kind of easier to talk about your own stuff. And I think people are in general a bit more equipped to kind of also hold space for people outside of the therapy setting. It's just becoming a bit more normal to acknowledge mental health, mental difficulty, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I really think that will help. And a friend, when I sort of started to Soother stuff, a friend said to me that 20 years ago, people didn't really go out for runs as much. It wasn't like that mainstream. Fit people and people that kind of were keen runners did, but it wasn't kind of most people, or it certainly wasn't the number of people that do now. And he just kind of likened it to that. He thinks that therapy in the UK will just become more and more normal, and I think that's a great thing. Like I say, it's just a case of us kind of setting things up effectively so that people can access it. Therapists can find the clients that they're right for. But I think over the next 5-10 years, yeah, it just will continue to improve and improve, honestly.
And that makes me, what I feel like you're leading to is technology. And I want to ask you, do you see a role for technology in what Soother does? Or do you feel like the human connection is the key element?
Yeah, so kind of talking specifically like AI, my kind of headline feeling is it's a bit of a concern, but I try to also acknowledge where it can help, and it's just not this like evil thing that's going to do all bad. I think there's loads of really, really good stuff it can do. I just think the management of it needs to be delicate in the same way that I don't think it's all bad. I definitely don't think it's all good, and I don't think it should be kind of used in every way possible. My overall concern about AI in general is I kind of started by at the start of the saying how much I love people and humans. I really do love humans. I think we have this tendency to kind of there's almost a kind of self-loathing, disgust thing about ourselves, and it kind of breaks my heart because I think humans are great.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot that we get fed all the time that isn't great. There's no doubt about it. But there's 8 billion of us, or however many. Like, there's a lot of good, and I just I wish we could see all of the value that there is in us, if that makes sense. I don't know if this is going to make sense or it sounds silly, but when we look at animals and I love animals, this is nothing against animals, but for example, people love penguins, right? Because they sometimes trade a pebble between partners, and that's a commitment for life. And everyone's like, that's so nice, like that's so intelligent and such a lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like humans have done that for a long, long time, right?
Mm.
And you should hear what else we can do as well. Like humans are incredible.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm kind of saying this is because I worry that the way we generally feel about ourselves kind of leads us to look elsewhere for things to be done, when actually I think humans are great and I think we've got this. So yes, AI in lots of different ways can help. I just really don't want AI to replace and do everything it possibly could do, because I actually think humans are really, really great in lots of different ways. And actually, yeah, like I say, we've got this in lots of ways. I will caveat that by saying there's loads of incredible things AI can do that saves lots of time, keeps things kind of, frees up people's time, for example. Other tasks that AI can do, they've got more time to see people and that sort of thing. Like, it's definitely useful.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, if we're talking about AI replacing therapists in the therapy thing, I think we need to be really careful. And I think if someone is really kind of for that, then we just have a different idea of what therapy is. For me, therapy isn't the words or even the content. It's the thing of two humans doing something together in pursuit of at least one person's life improving. I think that's a magic thing. I don't think we need to be looking for a replacement for that. Again, to try and balance that, I think the really important thing to look at is where the appetite for this sort of stuff is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because there are things that could be done better. No, there's no question. People will reach out to AI because they can't access support with a human.
Mm.
Some people won't want to access support with a human, would prefer not to. That's fine. Like we were saying before, people get to decide. That's the beauty of the therapy. It would be contradictory of me to then say, oh, you shouldn't do that. If people want to do that, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I just hope that, we're able to figure it out well enough so that humans can support humans, because that's kind of my favourite thing.
Love that.
Yeah. What do you think? Where are you? Because I see some places offering, firstly, the ChatGPT thing, which is fair enough. People are going to do what they're going to do if they want to talk ChatGPT. Fair enough. I worry a little bit more about the AI bot therapists that aren't yet safe, and I worry about people then leaning really heavily on that. Where are you with it?
I just think nothing can beat the human connection.
Yeah. That's fortunate, because I went quite heavy there. If you said that you really believe in AI, we might have struggled.
No, there's nothing that beats that, because for something that can't, well, I don't know, but for something that can't switch off and can be there at any moment and, just keep giving you things that are scripted or put into a system, I'm not too sure how it works, that could be detrimental to a person. Like, a person needs to be able to go away and sit with, what's been said in the session from a human being, and have boundaries put in place, because with AI there might not be any. You could just keep going every day, every minute, asking questions, and how much can your brain actually take in and process if you just keep, so I think nothing can beat the human connection. Like, to sit with someone who has blood and bones and, the same organs as you, and is looking at you in your face, and actually you can actually feel and hear that they actually genuinely care for you. You can't be that. You can't be that. As much as AI can have a soft voice, or, say the certain terms in therapy that are used, or however it is, it will never match the genuine human connection, personally. Again, it may have its way in terms of, therapists using AI to, I don't know, schedule a session or have their notes taken down or something that is going to aid with the session. But to completely, have an AI therapist, I don't agree with at all. Yeah,
I totally agree.
I don't agree with it at all.
And I think your point on the dependence thing is so important.
Yeah.
Because firstly, there's that thing of becoming dependent on something. Even if you're dependent on a person, that would be tricky.
Yeah.
But I think that's another step to then be dependent on AI. And I just think there's this kind of thirst for convenience, or in general, not just kind of therapy. And convenience is great in certain measures, and then beyond that, sometimes it's not the best thing for us. Like, life isn't supposed to be the most convenient version of everything. It just isn't. How do you learn stuff without adversity? How do you
Yeah.
I don't know, all sorts of stuff. And I think sometimes a lot of the natural parts of life and humans, people are a bit more ready than I would be to give them up in pursuit of maybe convenience or speed or
Yeah.
dental.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Everything's a process. Like, how did we learn to walk when we were babies? We just kept trying. We put ourselves in positions to learn things because we wanted to. Like you said, convenience can be good, but to have it just at will all the time, and we switch off our learning power, how we actually process information, how we receive information, because it's just given to us on the screen, that doesn't feel good or sound good at all. Because if we're going to keep referring to AI for things and all these things. Again, it has its place, but what happened to doing your own research, doing your own
Yeah.
finding, finding out something for yourself? Because when you do that, it just sparks an interest in you and changes your
Yeah.
whole brain and rewires it for, where you're growing and where you're going to. Whereas if you're, going to AI, and again, it has its place, but if you're going to it continually saying, yep, I want to do this, and it's giving you information and you're taking that for law, sometimes it may be incorrect. It may not be the full thing. But if you go out and do your research just from how you did it before, or, finding out certain things for yourself, it's more impactful, I would say.
Yeah. And also, like you mentioned that, like, also getting things wrong, yourself getting things wrong, and then getting stung because you got something wrong,
Yeah.
and then you might not get the thing wrong again. Like, that's valuable. It's not about, in my opinion, trying to
Yeah.
remove every single part that's maybe uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if this is still kind of AI, but like, yeah. And maybe it will change. Like, it's still a very new thing,
Yeah.
and maybe there's a version down the line that is able to be really, really safe, really, really kind of ethically like there.
Mm.
Even then, for me, the human thing is just that is what the therapy is.
Yeah.
But if it helps some people, okay, I'm here for helping people. But yeah, I just wish we would love ourselves and trust ourselves enough to leave this sort of thing to us and be there for each other. Because, like I say, I think that's the best of us, right? When we all we've got is ourselves, really, and AI now. But I just wish we'd leave it up to us to support each other, because I think we're really capable of it. We can improve on how things are happening for sure, but I think we've got this one.
Yeah. I agree with you. Again, I just don't think anything beats human connection. There's just something
Mm.
about it where, you know, there's just a felt sense. I can't even explain it. It's just something that's felt. Like, you can't
Yeah,
play it. You can't.
I agree. And that is what the therapy is for me. And like,
Yeah.
AI is obviously much more advanced than what I'm about to talk about, but self-help books have existed for a long time and will exist, and there's a place for them.
Yeah.
The video material you can interact with that is accessible when you want it. Like, your self-help book is there. Like, those things as tools alongside the human therapy, I
Yeah.
think are great. So like, if there are versions of that and that's how it's treated as like something to kind of complement the other stuff that you can get from humans, that's a different conversation. But yeah, to live alongside human therapy, there's functions there that okay. But yeah, to replace, no, I'd be really worried.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. George, I wanted to go into, for someone listening who's unsure about therapy, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I'd say I'm not surprised. I'd say I understand that. So even if you've got to the point where you're looking for a therapist, which isn't a given because there's a lot of steps to go to that, but you're looking for a therapist, it's very difficult to understand all the acronyms. It's difficult to understand who's qualified, who isn't. It's difficult to understand what their modality is or means or what you're looking for. Like, a lot of it is quite difficult for people to understand from the outside. And I think I'm close enough to the start of my training to remember that.
Yeah.
And I think my message to those people would be that we're going to keep improving how accessible it is, even in terms of language and understanding and what it actually is. Because, like I say, I've got a degree in psychology, and I turned up to the start of my course and I didn't properly understand what therapy was or what it looked like or what it could be for me.
Yeah.
And I've done a degree in psychology, let alone people that haven't, and totally fair enough, haven't ever engaged with this sort of stuff, haven't ever talked about it before because it's not what they're interested in, fine.
Yeah.
Those people still need to be able to understand what their options are and what support they could get and what support what version of it they would like it to be. So yeah, my answer to them would be, yeah, I'm not surprised. It's confusing, but I think we're on our way to making things a lot less confusing. And yeah, like I said, that also comes into where I see therapy the next 5-10 years. I really think access in loads of different ways is going to really, really improve, and I really believe that we'll all get it right. I really do.
Yeah.
That's not to say we're not getting it right now. Just so much great work going on. But I
Yeah.
really mean that. there's a lot that can be improved, but I really believe in us that we will. Everyone, not just us.
Yeah.
I really believe in all of us. People like you, Calvin. These podcasts are great because I guess a lot of the listeners are maybe counsellors and from within the counselling world, but
Yeah.
it's also lots of information out there and lots of conversation for people that they can access it and they can hear. I mean, I don't know if they'd be interested in hearing what I was saying today,
Of
but
course they will.
we're talking about what therapy is, and they'll pick bits up from it and they'll understand that, oh, okay, I could go into therapy and I could tell the therapist the sort of thing I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I'd be allowed to do that. And then I'd get it. And if it's not that person, they might be able to help find that person for me. And I don't think a lot of people kind of know that or, properly understand what support is there, what it could look like, and how they can actually access it.
Yeah.
But we'll get there very soon, I think.
I mean, yeah, for sure, George. George, what's next for Soother? Any upcoming projects or new ways you're hoping to expand or support? And how can people get involved or learn more about the work you're doing?
Yeah, so we're in a kind of crucial patch now where we're just trialing everything, but we're coming towards the end of the trial phase, which has been a real success. Really happy. We're kind of ready to go. Really excited that we've got a first in-person onboarding launch at the start of October. A great company up in the north of England, so that's exciting. So really, from the start of October, it's kicking off. Yeah, I don't know if that's in the past now. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but we're at the beginning and we're ready to go. So that's really exciting. Lots of exciting conversations about partnerships coming up and different employers getting involved, which is great. I'm here for any conversations like that. If there's any leaders, HR department, anyone that, even if you're an employee and you want to tell your workplace, there's this thing that we actually might be able to access support easily. Yeah, LinkedIn, email address, just get in touch with me. I'm happy to have these conversations. It might have come across, I think I've spoken a lot on this, but I'm happy to talk about this stuff. I really want the best for this world. I don't even feel comfortable calling it an industry, but this world, I really want the best for it. So yeah, I think that answers the question. Yeah, just get in touch with me and chat. And we're not because again, I think a lot of these are with therapists. We're not taking therapists on right now.
Yeah.
But as we grow, we will be. And there's a waiting list, which sounds quite, but it just means that you'll be the email addresses that hear from us first before there's a job advert going out.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a few on there already, which is great. So that means we won't have to put a job advert out. We can just kind of get that list of people. And yeah, all being well, early in the new year, once things are properly kicked off, we'll be expanding our team of therapists. And yeah, just conversations. I'm happy to have conversations. I love talking about this stuff, but I'm also clearly still very much in a learning phase.
Which is the best place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people much more experienced than me. So if anyone's got thoughts based on what I've said, they don't like the sound of what I'm doing, they think it could be better like this, or they love it and want to be involved, all that I'm happy to talk to people.
Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been your host, Calvin Anderson. We have had the incredible George Stevens. Please find him on LinkedIn, reach out, his company Soother as well, reach out, see what they're doing, keep in touch. This is George's part 1 actually, so he's going to have a part 2, which we'll do at another date. But please take a listen, take him in, because there's so many great things that he's doing currently and so many greater things he will do in the future as well. And take care. Speak soon. God bless.